Hello and welcome. You are watching the Dream is Real podcast. This is the place if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in New York real estate. Before we get started, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Don't want you to miss an episode because we are continuing to bring you great content of professionals that are in and around the real estate game. And today is no different. I'm here with Dan Giambrone, a real estate investor. So we're going to have a great conversation today. Welcome, Dan.
Well, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So let's get started learning a little bit about you. I know you've got rich history in the side of real estate. So let's talk about it.
Sure. Where would you like to begin?
Well, let's go back as far as we can.
So just so we have a nice little timeline, I think I'm 34. So I started technically in 1996. I know, right? Is that?
Seems like a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. It was a long time ago. I was 6 years old. That was always good about the 90, or how my age landed. So 96, I knew I was 6. But yeah, I was 6 years old, and my father purchased a second house out in Babylon, in Long Island. And I didn't know what it quite was at the time.
He's like, Dad, why do we need another house?
Well, at first, my dad's old school. He's Italian. He's off the boat. And we keep our secrets. And I was like, shh, we don't talk about family business. And even to me, I'm your son right now. And he won't even, I guess, disclose anything to me. I think as I think more and more time has gone on, I think it's just like me having that information as a 6-year-old. Maybe I'll start blabbing it to other people. And I guess he wanted to protect that. That's my assumption. I'm going to ask him that.
Fair enough. You should.
I will.
So your family purchases another home. And what was that? What was the purpose of that home?
My father was a contractor. I think ultimately he figured out that you can make money on a rental property. And back then, you don't have other information to provide you like the internet. So he went to the local library and started reading about it and started networking and going to events. And then he actually landed oh, you should buy a second house and rent it out.
And a good bit of our audience here on The Dream is Real are in the investment side of things or looking to invest. So that's something that obviously as you grew up and watched what your dad was doing, ultimately that fell into your lap as what you would like to do. So what was that pivot point for you in deciding to move into that arena yourself?
I ultimately knew because after that house, he started to buy a bunch more. And he stopped buying houses in 2012. And then in
okay, that's a good run from 96.
Yeah. And he pivoted because he decided financially to invest money in a different aspect besides that. So he did a different element. Like his method was the 1%, and you had to buy a house outright, 100%, no mortgage. He was really honed in. He wouldn't purchase a property unless it's fully he won't touch banks. He won't touch any of that. But that was just old school thinking.
He's old school.
100%. And now he sees everything I did. He's on the bandwagon now, and he's my biggest supporter besides my wife. I make sure I say that.
Fair enough. We don't want to get you in trouble here.
Of course, my wife, both of them together is just because they're my team. My wife and my father. So now my father sees that this new creative way of investing is if he had that information, he would have ran with it. But the pivot point was in 2016, as I spell out the timeline. The neighbor next to me was selling his house, and we had a good relationship, and it was an old man. We took care of his driveway. We did the right thing as a good neighbor, and ultimately, my father went up to him and was talking to him. And he told him, "Oh, Frank, I want to sell the house, but I really don't want to go to a real estate agent." My father talked to me. He's like, "Do you want to buy this house?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm 26 years old. Sure, why? Yeah." And my father likes to do these things, these surprises. So I was working. I came home. I was still living at home with my parents. I come home, sit down for dinner. I see him. We're chit-chatting. 20, 30 minutes into a conversation and dinner. He looks at me. He's like, "Yeah, we're buying the house." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "And we got it for the price we want." I'm like, "What?" And he just
you're like, I didn't even know we were negotiating
we
at this
already
point.
negotiated. I just said, he asked me, would you consider like financially where I was, and I was in the position of affording the house, and I needed help for the down payment, which he did in the beginning, then I paid him back. But it was just to make sure that I was comfortable taking on a mortgage and taking on the house. So once I bought that house, I was still living at home. My wife at the time was my girlfriend. We're like, we don't need a house. Let's rent it out. So I immediately rented it out. Like the month later, I bought it. Yeah, I didn't even.
That's interesting. You think you would jump right in and
No.
all right.
So then
Are you glad that you did that?
100%. It was positive cash flow. It was, and it really made me understand the tool. Like, oh wow, I'm living now. I moved to Queens with my wife because I primarily was working in the city. I'm like, oh, I can live here, have an asset, and that asset is going to generate me income. This is what my father's been talking about, buying these other houses. Now, I had a full understanding because I took on the mortgage, I took on the down payment, paid my father back, and then I just saw the wheels start turning. I'm like, oh, this is really, really neat.
Wow. So you caught the bug at that point.
Yeah, I really did. I was like, 'cause once you get that first rent check and the deposit, it's like, like, you can do this? Is this legal?
And how many more times can I do this?
How many? Yeah. But so I lived in the city for 4 years, and then COVID happened, and me and my wife were like, well, it's time to. We ultimately knew we were going to move back to the house because that house is next to my father's house, and that's where we live currently today. And we moved back in. We asked the tenants to leave. They left, and I looked at the first of the month. I'm like, oh no, there's no more rent. What are you going to do? And it wasn't like I was surviving on that. I miss collecting that.
So up until that point, that was your sole property.
That was it. I just
outside of your primary residence.
Yes. So at that point, I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? I can't sit on this. I have knowledge now. I have information now. How can I sit on this? So then ultimately, I just started Googling and saying how to invest in real estate. And at the time, both my parents are both from Sicily. My father really was not around. He was taking care of family affairs in Sicily because we do have houses and over there. We do have property. We go there once a year pretty much. And he was there just taking care of that. I didn't want to bother him. Oh, I'm looking to buy houses. So I just said, well, if you're going to do this, you got to figure it out for yourself. So I really started to dive in.
Huh. What resources did you turn to? You said Google, but obviously any Google search can bring you a myriad of responses. How did you distinguish good advice from bad advice?
Google how to invest in real estate, and then it went to Bigger Pockets. Bigger Pockets kind of open up that door. Start buying books, start reading books, and I start talking to friends. Hey, are you interested in real estate? And I met with one of my friends. We actually own a property together. Her mom was a real estate agent. She's like, oh, talk to her, see what we could do, find a house. And the mom knew Handsome Home Buyer. Well, knew of him. I don't think he knew him in person, but got advice from him. And I actually emailed him as well. And they both say, you got to join your local RIA. I'm like, what's your local RIA? What's a RIA? And you got to join this group. And so I joined it. And that's when really I went from Bigger Pockets, because I found Bigger Pockets is great information, but that's nationally.
Well, for our audience, explain what is the local RIA.
The RIA is for this one, it's called the East Coast RIA. It stands for Real Estate Investors Association. And it's a group of, once a month, Zoom, that we all collectively get together, about 40 to 50 on this call. And the gentleman that runs that, his name is Carl Chavone, who is my real estate coach as well. I got him as my coach. Same coach as that Charles Weinrub, Handsome Home Buyer, had. So I said, if I sign up with this guy and I'm watching how this guy unfolds, I mean, I'm putting the pieces together. But that RIA was like the key element. At first, I thought it was like competition. And you and me were just talking like, oh, we're not competition. I'm like, of course. But at first, I thought it was competition. I was so, I would say, closed-minded.
Sure.
And then Carl, my coach, really like, oh, no, these are not your enemies. Yeah, we're all looking to buy properties, but there's plenty out there. There's plenty out there. You all can succeed at your own level, and you're all going to work together. And I have. And when I got that blockage out, I was like,
Right. So you began looking at other investors as, dare I say, your peers that you probably learned a ton there as well.
absolutely, all their mistakes. Like one of the best things I ever heard in my life was a wise person learns from no. A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise person learns from other people's mistakes.
Ah,
And I would hear the stories of squatters and not having the correct home insurance for doing a rehab and just all these things. And I covered maybe 20 years of people's what people have done mistakes into 1 year. Like I really compressed that information, saying, "Oh man,
Hi, my name is Tyrone. I'm the owner and trainer here at Fly Fitness. We work with children of all ages, sports specific training, soccer, basketball, lacrosse, football, you name it, we do it here. We also work with the beginner, the person that has never been in the gym before. We get you from point A, point B, and we take you through the alphabet of training. We also do rehab, ankles, back, knees, shoulders. The older we get, the more fragile we are. So those things that I just mentioned, those are things that we definitely going to need help with. That's what we specialize in here at Fly Fitness. Come and join us.
so
that's why it's so key to get around people that are further down the road than you are, right? You hit on a couple, I think, very key points that are just flat out best practices for any arena that you're entering into, right? One is a desire to to excel in it, right? But you talked about books. You talked about now getting with people that are already in the industry, building a peer network. By the way, just to go back to the books, are there any books off the top of your head that you would recommend to somebody who is maybe looking to get into investing or is already in real estate investing and feels like they're out in the wilderness a little bit?
I believe your foundation of who you are as a person is more important than going to the investment books. I'm not saying don't look at an investment books. Absolutely. I think you're ultimately need to build a new personality, and that's what I did. My favorite book, and I will shout it out there as loud as I can, is Atomic Habits.
Oh, great book. Great
Yeah,
book.
James Clear, and I follow. I get his letters and his Instagram, and it's just such positive reinforcement. And I think the reason I bring that not in an investment book is that you need to invest in yourself. I think you ultimately need to invest as you as a person because this real estate game. I think a lot of talk happens like, oh, you buy a house and you do all this, but people get into it, and I see they probably join a group or they say, oh, I want to invest in, and then they do it for 3-4 months, and then they're gone. They realize like, oh, this is not for me.
Why do you think most people leave the game prematurely?
I think the idea of quick cash, which is in real estate, you can make quick money, but that's at somebody at a very high caliber. They have spent years and years perfecting that art. Somebody like, and I think people are sold like, oh, if you just do that, you kind of steered away and don't realize it is a grind. It is a long-term play. You're going to get in this business, which I highly 100% recommend you do. Even if you don't want to even buy houses, even if you just want to hook up with somebody like myself or another investor and say, hey, take my money and run with it and give me 12% back on my money, or buy me a rental property and you take a certain percentage. There's so many avenues, but you should have some baseline of that.
Now, do you feel like you've found your corner of the market? You mentioned before that your dad did it one way, right? Full cash only, 100%. And then you had mentioned how now he's seeing how you're doing it, and it's maybe lighten up a light bulb or two with him. Do you want to delve into maybe what your approach is?
Sure. So going back to Bigger Pockets, one of the big tools that I've learned from them was the Bur Strategy. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting. You buy a house. I don't want to make sure I nail it all, but you buy a house, you renovate it. You renovate it, you refinance it, you rent it out and you repeat that cycle. And obviously you have to dive into each, the rent, the refinancing, and see how you take that tool, and now you're able to swing it into the next property, which I have done. One of the first houses, I found the right house, and it took 3 years. It took 3 years of finding the right house because it wasn't easy. It made sense. The numbers worked. I have it rented out. Positive cash flow. Check all the boxes. What my investment criteria is, and then I just refinanced earlier this year, and now I have that money. And right now, I'm seeing if I can buy another house right now. Huh. So it's a powerful tool. So my dad's seeing, if he did that with the other houses, he definitely 100%. I could definitely see in my father's portfolio well over 20 to 30 houses.
At his peak, where was he?
Where was he? He had at least 4 to 5, and he was flipping 2 but
4 to 5 that he maintained for rentals, but then he also flipped and sold.
Oh yeah. But ultimately, we did other investments that had nothing to do with real estate. It was more of a franchise business that we really got involved in, and that was just another animal within itself. And he stuck with that, and that's why he kind of pulled away from real estate too, because what we got involved in was so more powerful than actually real estate, believe it or not. But it was a very incredible opportunity that we achieved investing into these types of franchises out in California.
Okay, yeah, it's hard to chase 2 rabbits.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So, but the what made it that house in Babylon I brought up, if he bought that house for I wrote all the numbers down, but he bought that house for like $120,000. Then he sold it in 2012. He sold it for like $350,000, $360,000 because it was a 2-family. And at the time, it made sense to him because he took that money and he put it into the franchise business, which times 10 times I think 20 is return ROI. But ultimately, he utilized the real estate exactly what it was meant for. So he held that house for 20 years. It built up its equity. He made his rent on it. And now it was time to sell that house to put it into another investment, which,
right.
an incredible tool.
So with real estate, you can have tremendous leverage, not to just remain in real estate, but that opened up a whole new option for your family. He did keep some of his portfolio though, right? And just liquidated some of it?
Yeah, he just liquidated, I'm just about one house. He ultimately did not want to liquidate all the houses. His philosophy behind all this too was, for his legacy, was to leave each of us was one rental property. I have 2 other brothers, so he wanted to leave each of us one house, so we knew we had some positive cash flow, and the house was fully paid off. And that's why he still to this day won't touch it. And I sometimes I poke him with it, and he's behind it, but it's like it's also everything he worked for.
Sure,
it's not something where he really went to because he was a laborer and then he became a construction safety manager, and he saved every penny, worked every piece of overtime to buy the house outright. So it's it's very personal, those houses.
What a great story.
Are you a homeowner who is looking to expand your home so you have enough space for everything you need in your home? Or do you want to renovate because the interior just doesn't work for your needs anymore? Or are you someone who's looking for a property, but nothing that you've been looking at really fits what you need? Well, my name is Catherine Serrano Sosa. I'm the founder of Rooted Architecture Studio, and I can help you bring those renovations and adjustments to life. At Rooted Architecture Studio, we focus on creating meaningful, inclusive, client-centric designs for homeowners and investors. We walk you through the whole process of designing construction and making sure that you understand what's going on, but take away all the layers so you can sit back and just focus on the deliverables of what we're designing. We make sure that your non-negotiables are integrated and your wants and needs are integrated to the best of our abilities. So if you are looking to do anything that I just discussed, or just have ideas that you might want to talk about what the possibilities may be, give us a call and reach out through social media as well, and we'll be happy to help you. And if you're looking for a new property, make sure to connect with Dream Select Realty. They're the right people to help you find the right property for you and make sure that your needs are integrated Or if we're renovating, we can all collaborate together to bring that vision to life.
We're talking about the American dream here. We really are. And that's a big catalyst for this program here because there's so much out there in language saying that, real estate, especially for this next generation, is out of reach. What's your thought process on that?
You bring up the American dream, and I do believe a lot of people find it's dead, and I don't see it that way. I think things evolve, and I think that things change. Nothing's ever going to be the same. 15 years ago, no one had a smartphone in their hand. Now everybody has a smartphone in their hand. I only could imagine what's in the next 10 years, what we got for AI and what's going on. But what I'm saying is that the American dream is not dead. It's just a new formality of it.
But that's nothing new, right? You mentioned cell phones. You mentioned now AI. I mean, you're right. What's 20 years from now, what's it going to be? We have to be able to adapt, right?
100%. You have to understand markets change, strategies change. How are you going to it's just a barrier. You just got to understand there's a barrier, and don't say the barrier is, oh, I'm done. No, but that's also where I think a lot of people quit. They see the barrier like, oh, there's no way around it. No, there's a way around it. And for my father's sake, he really is like, as we're talking this, I'm thinking about it. He is the product of an American dream. Came from Sicily as an immigrant, came to this country at 20 years old, my mom, had nothing to his name, $0, started in the construction industry, worked his way through it, and able to buy a house, personal house for his family, and then on top of that, switch over to that. So he became an American citizen. I really admire that. And I think that's also it's my core, my foundation it would be like 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm, 10 years old. My dad would come home covered in dust from doing a demolition job. And I'm like, oh my God, take his boots off and dirt's coming out. And then Saturday rolls around. And he gets in his work truck, not to go to work in the city, but to go work on a rental property. Like, it's that sacrifice. It's
making it happen. Let's go back to where you said that you were looking for the right house. Can you give our audience some tips on what it means to find the right house?
So I would say you have to understand your finances. I think, number one, you have to understand where are you financially? What can you afford? And then the next thing is, once you understand what you could afford and what you can leverage, is what is going to be a good number for you. And I'll throw out numbers like what my investment criteria is. If I was to purchase a house, I would like, number one, to cash flow at least $500. A lot of people say, well, that's not really a lot. No, I think it's a fair amount because I know ultimately long-term play, the equity that's going to build up in that house 10 years from that, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about so much that $500, but that's one, cash flowing, so I'm able to have some reserve. That's minus reserves. So when I talk about reserves, I'm talking about putting money away for repairs and new roof. But ultimately, I remodel all homes, so I really axe that. When I remodel those homes, I want to see that how much equity I'm going to build in the house. So $500 in cash flow, and then my equity amount for me is $40,000 to $50,000. I would like to see after I do the renovations.
Got it.
So that's my investment criteria, and that's where I feel good. And those numbers have to hit with the house.
When you look at a house, what are the kind of focal points of renovations to maximize that value after?
Oh, kitchen, number one. Kitchen is your big, probably the biggest part of the, like, money wise, will cost you the most. It all depends on the house. I don't want to say so much about that, but definitely kitchen, bathroom, plumbing, and now something I just literally learned because I literally remodeled a house, and at the same time as I was remodeling it, I had an appraisal done on the other house, and the appraisal on the other house, they were asking me, it's like, what's the amps? What's your amperage surface there? I'm like, it's 100. That's all they needed. Everything was good. He's like, oh, you could have gotten more money if you upgraded the service. I'm like, what? So as I was doing that new renovation, I'm like, I got on the phone. I'm like, please please give me 200 amps right now. Like, the house was fine with 100 amps, but no, give me the 200 amps.
But you learn as you go, right? See, there you go.
Yeah, so I definitely learned.
Now our audience knows, go for the 200.
Yeah, just spend the money on I always say a lot when it comes to stuff like this, please, to your audience, licensed and insured electrician that understands that, and just it's a very small cost for something that could literally make you $10,000-$15,000 on top of an appraisal. And I missed that boat with this house with that. And it literally, as the appraisal was going, it's like, I was on the phone with my father because he does a lot of helps him with a lot of junk contract. I'm like, do we send this guy over to update the service? I'm like, it's too late. They already did the appraisal and they did the math, but now we know. You
won't miss that again, right?
No, I'm good. Every house, I don't care. Well, if it's 200 amps, I'm good. But if most houses I'm getting, it has 100 amps. I'm looking for the distressed house. I'm looking for the house that hasn't been touched in 20, 30 years. That's what I'm looking for.
Got it. You feel like that's because the homeowner also has the expectations of, hey, I know I haven't touched the house in 20, 30 years, or do you find that's not the case? You find the sentimental value is still there?
The distressed houses is the most room for opportunity. It's the most, that is where you're going to find your leverage. It's not about, to me, and it's not about cash flow all the time. I think it's ultimately about equity. And I think once you see a distressed house and see how much equity you can build, that's where you're going to make some money. That's where you're going to, and so if a house is in distress and you're buying it for a cheap cost, you're going to have, okay, here's my remodel budget. And then we'll throw a number out there just for, 50 grand. And if I put 50 grand in, I'm going to get, another 50, I'm going to get that 50 grand back because that's what I invested. And then another 50 to 70 grand back once the money that I put into it. That's where that's the chunk that you're going to really be like, wow, that's a good taste. So that's why I like that, because you definitely have the leverage of making equity. That's generally what I want to drive.
Why everybody's in it, right?
I want to say, well, yes, but I don't think some people like cash flow. People will, oh no, it's got a cash flow $1,000 a month and I'm out. And that's some people, and I am, and that's why I said what my investment criteria is can be completely different to somebody else that could say, listen, I'm just, if there's no meat on the potatoes for equity, I don't want it.
I feel like we could dive deep into a lot of different areas, but actually you have an exciting announcement. You recently started a podcast of your own that I'm guessing the public can learn a lot about everything that we're talking about here. Sure. Tell us about it.
So for your viewers out there, I go by Dan the Homebuyer Man, but I actually changed my Instagram handle to dan_the_man. The reason I did that is because I'm a safety professional. I invest in houses, and now I'm hosting a podcast. So I'm Dan the podcast man. I'm Dan the safety man. So I am now hosting Dan the podcast man show, where I'm having all the people I've networked and done business with, and really want to dive into that with my colleagues and shine a light on the incredible people that I work with and got me to this level, because a lot of the people I'm putting on there is just like, I wouldn't have the houses, I wouldn't have the financial information, and plus it's fun. I always wanted to be a radio host. You said you were one. I'm like, I always just wanted to sit down and just have a conversation. So I officially launched that.
It sounds like you're getting like-minded people in the same room, and anyone who listens, we get the benefit that you had when you jumped into the group of people that were maybe a little bit further, and you were able to glean a lot from that. So is that what you're looking to create?
100%. I think ultimately what I've learned, and just as a general person, is I am a person that wants to help. I generally do, and some people are like, they think I'm full of crap, but I'm not. I'm really not. I get more satisfaction of helping another individual that has less than me, and if my motivation could encourage them and bring them to that next level, I believe people sell themselves short, and they shouldn't. And they should really drive home, and I will be that person to kick you right in the butt and say, go for it. And you need help? Yeah, come call me and we'll have a call. And I'm not looking for money. I'm just looking for somebody to succeed. Because other people have done that for me. My father's done that for me. My wife has always cheered me on. And then the people I'm in that group, 100%. Pick up the phone. I need a plumber. I need this. Bam, bam. And I always want to, and I want to be that guy too.
Awesome.
I want to be that guy.
Awesome. Well, well said. Let everybody know how they could keep in touch with you and follow you.
Sure. So you can follow me at dandan.the_man. And that's my Instagram handle. My YouTube page is Dan the Podcast Man. What else do I got going on? Same handle works for Facebook as well. And if you want to email me directly for any questions or want to work together, you can type, my email is thehomebuyerman at gmail.com.
Awesome. And thank you for tuning in to the Dream is Real podcast. You can also follow us at Dream Select Realty on Instagram and TikTok, on X at Dream Select Home. If you want to be part of the program, go to hometeam@dreamselectrealty.com. And until next time, we'll see you. Just remember, the dream is real.